call their priesthood the Nazarite. What you see, that's like Nazarene, Nazarene. You know, they are a Christian-like group, but they don't follow Jesus. They say that they fled after the death of John the Baptist across northern Syria and then down into southern Iraq. And they are a baptizing, bathing group of daily bathers. In Arabic, even today, they're called, in Arabic, by the local residents, the Sibba of the marshes. The Sibba of the marshes, which actually is the plural of what is said in the Quran to be the Sabaeans. The Sabaeans. So what's he talking about? I don't know what Professor Eisenman is talking about. Oh, because you haven't read the Quran yet completely. Those who have read the Quran probably are familiar with the Sabaeans. The Sabaeans are one of the three categories of protected peoples in Islam, what are called dhimmis. I'll get this again. This is just for the cameras here. What are called dhimmis, and my friend here who knows more than all the others, so I have to be careful because I want to be precise in their presence. Because I feel I'm in the presence of the Lord of the throne here, I have to be careful. So I want to make any errors here. Dhimmis, as you may know, are protected persons. And there are three categories of protected persons. She can tell us who they are. Who are the three categories of protected persons in Islam? Jews, Christians, and Sabaeans. Jews, Christians, and Sabaeans. Now the question is, why are Sabaeans? These are also called people of the book. Al-Kitab, people of the book. Why are the Sabaeans protected people? Who are they? We didn't even know they existed in the West. I think they are these Mandaeans that we're talking about here because they are the Sibba of the marshes. And I think Sabaean is an Aramaic, Syriac word having to do with ritual immersion in water. Now, in Arabic, it's misconstrued to mean Southern Arabia. So the Muslims actually think that these are Southern Arabians, but the Southern Arabians had no religion that was would come under a protected category usage. It has to be these immersers in southern Iraq and northern Syria that we know existed in the 400s, 500s, 600s at the time of Muhammad. And I'm sure that in his travels he would have encountered these people. So the transmission could easily go through groups like that. And the Sabaeans ultimately, some Sabaeans, one of the Sabaeans was a teacher who started his own religion in the 3rd century. One of these Sabaeans was Mani. And he started a religion called Manichaeism in the 3rd and 4th century. And he had similar ideas to Islam. So this would be in Iraq, Mandaeans, Manichaeans. So the movement goes from groups like the Mandaeans, Sabaeans, daily bathers, John the Baptist style groups, Dead Sea Scroll type groups who are daily bathers. The Dead Sea Scrolls are daily bathers. Why do they bathe? Purify themselves on a daily basis? Now, Muslims don't bathe on a daily basis in terms of being obliged to do so. They might do so. And in fact, they don't use water purification to that extent. You can use water if you go into a mosque to wash your hands or something, but sand was considered also sufficient. They did away with that aspect of things. Well, you see, that's like the Manichaeans. The Manichaeans did away with that aspect of things. The bathing, purification practices were done away with in the 3rd, 300s, and 400s. So you do get a succession up to Islam. Islam recognizes the prophets of the past, and that the prophet is the end of a succession of prophets, the seal of the prophets, as he's called in Islam. Well, that's how the Manichaeans saw money. I know you haven't heard of the Manichaeans, most of you, but they exist out there. They still exist in Central Asia. There are still Manichaeans running around here and there. Not many. Most of them were either converted to Islam or disappeared in the steppes of Central Asia, overcome by Buddhism and other religions. But you see, there are groups that could have been encountered had Muhammad traveled into southern Iraq. And I